Welcome back to another video. Today, I'm going to be showing you how to code with AI. Okay, so now I'm going to ask Copilot's AI for an app.py and an index.html. An app.py is, in essence, basically a skin for your index.html. In this case, for our food bank app, it's going to be the locations and the points of those locations and how they map back onto the map and what tools we use to deploy the server. For the index.html, the index.html is the base. So you can think of this as like a cupcake in a way. The index.html is the pure cake, and the app.py is the frosting. They can't exist without each other, but together they make one big app or cupcake. Okay, so here I'm going to type in a really simple query to Copilot telling it to give me an app.py and an index.html for a food bank app to help volunteers find food banks. And voila. So it's given me an app.py and an index.html. And if I run these, they should create an app. But before that, let's go over some basic stuff that you might need to run it in the first place. Okay. Now we're going to download and prepare some materials to run your Copilot code. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to open terminal or command prompt depending on your computer make or model. Then you're going to type in pip install Flask. The reason you're doing this is because Flask is a development server. It allows us to launch our code without having to pay for a server, and it allows us to test our app in this case. Now, after this, you're going to open up a new tab, and you're then going to type in pip install Jupyter. And this basically tells your computer that to retrieve the set of Jupyter tools that are used for Python coding. Now, after you've done this, all you have to do is type in Jupyter Notebook, and you're into Jupyter Notebook. Jupyter Notebook is an IDE for Python coding, and it basically allows us to type in code and run it on our computer. Now, if you see a requirement already satisfied, don't panic. That just means you already installed Flask and or Jupyter Notebook or Jupyter Tools, and you already have them on your computer and don't need to install them. Okay, now in command prompt, you're just going to type in Jupyter Notebook, which basically tells your computer to access the Jupyter tools you downloaded and use the Jupyter Notebook one specifically. It should open up in your default browser. Okay, so now that we're in Jupyter Notebook, let's look at one of my Flask Food Bank apps. And if you notice, there's an app.py, but then there's also a static folder. And inside that static folder, there's an index.html. However, sometimes Microsoft Copilot can make you use a templates folder to house your index.html instead of a static folder, so do as you please. Okay, so now let's go back to Copilot and check our code. So here we have our app.py and our index.html. So now I'm going to head back to Jupyter Notebook and we're going to open up a new folder. I'm going to name this new folder Test App 2 because I've already made a Test App 1, and that's my best bet. Also, side note, do not put spaces in your titles. Some services will count it as a syntax error if you have spaces in your titles. Okay, now let's open up the folder and create a new file. This new file we're going to name app6 because I already have an app.py, but app6.py, and do not forget the .py. Alright, so now that Copilot has told me that we need to name our folder templates, let's create a new folder, name it templates obviously, and then we're going to create an index.py. And the reason I'm not creating an index.html straight away is because Jupyter Notebook makes it so I have to create an index.py to make it editable. Okay, now let's look back at Copilot and copy our index.html code and paste it into the index.py file, and then let's quickly rename it to an index.html and save it. Then let's head over to our app.py and do the same thing. Take our app.py from Copilot and paste it in the app.py doc format in Jupyter Notebook. Okay, so now that we've successfully pasted in all our code, let's run it. So open up your terminal or command prompt and type in cd space and then whatever your folder name is and hit enter. Then you're going to want to type in Python, which declares it's a Python, and then just your Python's file name, so your app.py's file name. After you hit enter for a second time, your page should pop up after you paste in the link in your browser and hit enter. Okay, so you see our URL, right? And it's 127.0.0.1:8080. And the problem with 8080 is we use a deployment server that requires our localhost to be at 5,000, which is the number that I just showed you. Okay, so now that we have this big white box that we don't really need, I'm gonna go troubleshoot with Copilot, and let's type in the chat, say, can you get rid of this big white box on the bottom? And hopefully it should give us an updated index.html because that's what it's affecting. And yep, that's our index.html. So now let's copy it in, paste it into Jupyter Notebook, and let's save it as an index.html again. And then that should be it. Alright, now let's close out of PowerPoint and refresh the page, and it says error. The reason it says error is because Flask is a development server, meaning that it may not always be able to extend its usage rate outside of command prompt without the proper function or a different server. So there's two ways to go about it. The first way is you can use a different function to run our Python code in command prompt, and the second way is to just use Waitress instead of Flask. Alright, so I'm just going to skip the really boring section of me asking Copilot whether I should employ Waitress or just use a Python w.exe function. But in the end, as you can see, Copilot tells me to use a Python w.exe function to run my Python script. So that's exactly what I'm going to do in command prompt. So cd test app2 and then hit enter, and then I'm going to type in Python w.exe and then my app6.py, which in this case is my app.py name. Okay, so now if we close command prompt and refresh the page, yep, it pops up just fine, and we have our 3 points there. So that should be it. If you want more advice on how to actually deploy a piece of Python code and how to get it working online and not using the localhost link, check out our next video, and make sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below.